as we get older, we become more and more alone. Hi guys. Today I wanted to talk to you about loneliness and being alone. Um, so my thoughts at the moment are about, I was just going to say impending doom. That thought came to mind, but you know what's coming up for me. And I was going to say the doggies. I suppose I'm lucky that I have the doggies with me. Um, but I was thinking, well, I was going to ask this question, but I know where are all my friends? Where are all my family? As you get older, any of you younger guys might think, what is this guy talking about? This has got nothing to do with me. Yeah, and it won't have anything to do with you yet. But as you get older, I found that, I lost all my friends, lost all my family, lost. I don't even have acquaintances or work friends, so didn't have any of those. Um, People that you meet, and it's partly my fault. I'm responsible for that because when you have a long-term girlfriend or you have a wife, you lose all your friends. Women will say, you can still have your friends. Yeah. But when you want to go out with your friends, why do you have to go with him? I don't like him. He's not a good influence. And there are some men who, yeah, maybe are not a good influence, but, a man has to learn for himself. He can't always listen to a woman and be told, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. A man can listen to a woman and take advice. There's no problem with that. Especially if that woman is his mum. I think that's the only woman a man should listen to, his mum, his mother. No, just joking. But yeah, a man should be, I think, somewhat independent. I say that because I haven't been independent. I've always listened to my wife. I try to, like, I make out that I rebel, but actually I don't. I end up afterwards listening and thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe I should do what she said, because a person who has ADHD, suffered from social anxiety, depression, you know, you listen to a person that doesn't suffer from all these things, they know better usually. So you have to, like, forget that pride, that ego, and just, put your head down and say, okay, I don't know as much as you do, or I don't have that experience, so we'll do, as you say. So what happens is, at least in my life, when I've had long-term relationships, your friends are put on the back burner, and you kind of feel guilty, but then you realize that it happens the other way around as well. When they have a long-term girlfriend, that's it, they don't see their friends anymore. But the thing is, this might sound sexist, but the thing is, they still have their friends. They're allowed to have their friends, but you're not allowed to have yours. And that's the thing about women. I found that women that I've known, not in a biblical sense, I mean, women that I've known of, sorry, and that I've known, but not, girlfriend. I was going to say material. I'm tripping over my own words. If I say material, it sounds like they're pieces of meat. I don't want to say anything wrong, but material anyway. Just women that I've known and known of, and other men my friends have spoken about. They tend to take control of the relationship and tend to. Could you imagine a man having female friends? Forget about that. She's gonna start as a girlfriend. She's gonna start doing a cull of all the female friends, all potential opponents. Potential opponents have to be destroyed. With a female kind of. First, you'll be nice about it, and then say things like, "Am I not enough? Why do you have to have female friends?" Yeah, but it happens also with men. They don't want you to be friends with um, certain men. You know, they might think that person is not, maybe is not attractive or whatever, is ugly. Maybe that person is too rough. Goes out drinking or does drugs or something like that, or maybe has too many tattoos or whatever, or they'll find some fault. Even if the person doesn't have any of those things, they might say, well, he's a bit boring, or I just don't like his vibe, or doesn't make enough money. Look, he's poor. They'll find some fault. I suppose men probably do it as well. Us human beings, we want our partner all to ourselves. We don't want anybody else to have them. Even, suppose we don't trust. I grew up in the 70s, and you used to hear these stories about, the milkman. In the UK, you had the milkman that used to come round and deliver the milk in his little, I don't know, was it little van or whatever it was, little, I don't know what it was, a little vehicle, and yeah, they had a, how do you call it, a reputation of having sex with bored housewives. I would have hated it, like, to live in those times and then me go to work and knowing that my wife, um, you know, is ordering milk or eggs and stuff like that from the milkman, and the milkman's coming round. I wouldn't like that. Bloody hell. I would say, I'm buying the milk. I buy the milk, I'll bring it back home. Don't worry. I'll buy the eggs, I'll buy it, whatever you want. There's no milkman coming to the house. Yeah. So I was just thinking about loneliness, and I was thinking, slowly, I've um, I've I've lost contact with everyone. You see, when my when my parents were alive, when when they were around growing up, I lived in their world, and it was nice. People used to come round, family members used to come. It used to be so nice. Like, sometimes I didn't like it. I used to go up to my room. It was too much, but it was really nice. It's nice to have people around, and you don't stop to think. Especially Christmas time, Easter not so much, but Christmas time was so special. Sometimes we went to um, other relatives' houses, and it's just brilliant. Italian Christmas with lasagna. You'd have like the uh, English Christmas food and Italian Christmas food. So maybe Christmas Eve you'd have uh, maybe lasagna or something like that, and then Christmas Day you would have the roast, the turkey roast dinner. Oh, it's so nice. So you'd have the best of both. It's so nice. But as my parents got older, you still used to see the family used to come round, but they had less energy. I found that they had less energy, and there's another thing. They became poorer because as you age, you don't have the same energy. You can't do 2 or 3 jobs, and if you don't have a son or daughter that helps you, it's difficult. You've got more expenses because you have a child or a son. I'm not blaming myself, but I could have helped my parents, but I didn't financially because I didn't work for so many years. So as they so what I'm trying to say is, when I remember when I was younger, say 10 years old, 15, 20 years of age, my parents used to be like a magnet. Lots of family members used to come, one family, another family, and they were quite popular because they were making money. They owned a nice house. They had 2 cars, 3 cars. I had all of us had a car. I had my first car. I had a Ford Fiesta. It's a second-hand car. My dad, what did he have? He had a Chrysler, an American car, a Chrysler 2-liter automatic, a red car. I think it was red. He had 2. First he had a brown one, and then he changed it for a red one. Then my mum had I think it was a black Fiat Panda. So that was like the peak of our, when we were the most popular, we had the most money. And then, like, from 25, when I was 30, about 30-ish, then my mum stuck with one job, and my dad stuck with one job. And you can tell that they were starting to fade, or not them, but our finances were waning. We reached that limit and it's going down. And so you see less of the relatives. There was less kind of energy or excitement. You have less people coming, probably because some people also passed away. And this became more and more lonely the older I got, because I had friends as well at the time. I had quite a few friends. Well, no, I didn't have quite a few friends. I had a group of friends, and we used to meet all the time. Used to go to the pub, from like the age of 19 to about 25. Used to go and get pissed, and on the weekends. And yeah, as soon as I had more serious girlfriends, then those relationships went onto the back burner. I still contacted them every once in a while, but we never used to go out anymore. And then I had my first serious relationship with an Irish girl for 4.5 years. And then I had a relationship with a Guyanese girlfriend in London, and I had a child with her. And so already my life was a bit messed up. I had a child out of wedlock, as they say, and I was 28, and I just found out I was adopted, and my head was just spinning, and I just went to China. I went to China in the year 2000, 1999, 2000, and 10 years before my mum passed away, my grandmother, no, actually, in the year, my grandmother passed away in the year 2000 when I went to China for the first time. I phoned up my mum in Sicily, and she told me, she was crying, and so that was the year 2000. So in 1990, my grandmother became paralyzed, and my mother she was the only daughter, and she had three brothers, and she thought that okay, the brothers would ask, the wives to all chip in and look after my grandmother in Sicily. 3 months each. My mum would go to Sicily for 3 months, look after my grandmother. But there were loads of arguments and stuff, and my mother thought, they might chip in because she has a family here in the UK, and it wouldn't be fair to strip her away from her son and her husband. It didn't work out, and she said, okay, to hell with this, I'm looking after my mother. She didn't want to come to England, so my mum was left with the decision of, and my mum asked me, I said, yeah, mum, just you have to look after her grandmother. So I didn't see my mum for 10 years. Sorry, my mum was away in Italy for 10 years. I used to see her every once in a while. I couldn't afford to go. I went once a year, or once a year I would see my mum. But I wasn't with her for the last 10 years, My dad, also stayed there. He used to stay more here in England, like 6 months, and then he'd stay 3 months or 6 months over there. So our family was split for the last 10 years of my mum's life. Well, for 10 years, and then in the year 2000, my grandmother passed away. My mum came back, and my mum passed away. Soon afterwards, she got cancer, and she passed away in 2002 or 2000, was it 2003? And that's when I said to my dad, I want to go to China. I just want to go really far away, because I'd been there before and it's really cheap and people are nice, so I went there for the second time. When I came back, my dad had a few girlfriends, and they soon scattered, these girlfriends. I think, well, I'm sure they were with him because they wanted his money and the house. But once they sniffed out there's a son, the son is around, and the son will be able to, it won't allow you to access his fortune or his house or whatever. They soon skedaddled, they scarpered, they left. So I said to my dad, these women, they don't love you, Dad, they love your money, they want your money. And he probably, in his mind, is probably thinking, you think I don't know? But it's a bargaining chip, isn't it? You look after me. It's business, almost. Prostitution as well, you can call it, but it's all prostitution. We all prostitute ourselves, I suppose. The only thing is, some of us don't go all the way. So he knew that he was being used. It must be sad that, as an old man, knowing that all of them were younger than him, that they want your money, and so they give you something that they have as youth, energy, and female touch. The making nice food or whatever that and in return they get the money. I'm not sure if it is unfortunate. I was going to say it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Maybe it's just the way things are. You give something and you get something back. That reciprocal relationship. And when it comes to women, they want money. Or they want something. Obviously, they want something from you. If it was that, it would be good. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be good. I don't know. I won't be able to handle a woman that wants it all the time. Bloody hell. She'd bloody drain me dry. Drain my soul. Yeah, so my mum passed away, and I was with my dad. I was left with my dad, and people didn't used to come round anymore. especially when my mum passed away, because my mum, she was the not the center. Um, she was the person who drew friends and family to our family. Whereas my dad, no, they apart from my dad's side of the family, they used to come and see him, but he didn't he didn't have I don't know, he didn't have many people come and see him and family members come and see him. And I think that's what it's like, isn't it, with men? The family kind of tend to gravitate towards the mother's side of the family. But at least this is what happened with me. I tended to gravitate towards my mum's side in Sicily. Every time I went to Sicily, because they were quite numerous as well. And women are more sociable, aren't they? And they make friends easily. Oh, this lady comes round, another lady comes round. I remember in our house, always there were my mum's friends and family, and like most of the people that used to come round were connected to my mum. Obviously, my dad as well, but because of my mum. And I think men suffer with loneliness or tend to be alone much more than women, because women are more sociable. Men aren't that sociable. That's why these social media platforms, are inundated with women. Facebook, all this kind of stuff. You've got women showing, you know, what they're doing in their life, what new clothes they bought, their doggy, their family, their this and that. Fucking hell. Whereas men don't do that, and they kind of keep to themselves, or they used to in the past. I think they still do, and that was, and it's kind of no, it's not kind of. It is sad as well. When my dad passed away, he was alone. Well, he had me, but none of his family were there by his bedside. It was just me. And even when he passed away, he was alone, because I went out to get some water. I sat down in the corridor, went back in, and he'd already passed away. Maybe he passed away at that time just to make it easier for me, maybe. But my mum, when she passed away in Sicily, I was there. The whole family were around. Auntie, uncle, brother, myself, my dad, quite a few people in a room. And yeah, isn't that sad? Like, my dad was alone when he passed away, and yet my mum had quite a few people around. Like my mum's funeral, there was quite a few people, but because it was in Sicily, I suppose, so there was more Sicilian people there, more family. And when at my dad's funeral, there was just myself and my family, my daughter from London, a woman, a Brazilian woman that used to rent the room in our house, and her boyfriend, and my dad's family was just a few, not that many, probably, I don't know, 20% of what of my of what happened. Of the people that attended my mum's funeral. So men tend to be more alone or lonely. As we get older, we tend to. It's difficult for us to make friends. I think. As we get older, yeah, as I was saying, it's harder to make friends. When you're young, you have that young energy. You want to make friends. You want to go out. You're involved in different activities. Like when I was younger, Although I didn't do this, but I was thinking of, oh yeah, I can go to this martial art class, make friends there, take the bus to the West End, go to a bookstore, go to the McDonald's, whatever. I didn't go clubbing or anything like that, or to the nightclub or whatever it's called, disco, because I was too shy. Didn't go to parties or anything like that. But you know, you go to the pub, you've got friends who are young like you. But now I can't go to the pub because I can't drink. I don't drink alcohol because I've had fatty liver and gallbladder polyps, so I can't. I have to be careful with my liver. So what do? You go to the pub and drink some water. I've got acid reflux. I can't drink Coke, orange juice, alcohol as well. I used to smoke. I can't smoke. Well, I don't want to smoke anyway, or vape or anything like that. So what do? You go to the supermarket for your doggies. So that's what I'm saying is, as usual, I'm not explaining myself properly. As you get older, you know, you get more lonelier, and your circle of friends diminishes or completely disappears, and you have to learn to be alone. And so I'm thinking forward, and I'm thinking now I sell the house, and it's funny, isn't it? Being with a person that you know in a few months' time won't be with you anymore, and you'll be alone, and you kind of cherish that person or that situation more. You don't take it for granted. Like with my wife, I don't take her for granted now. My children, I don't take them for granted, because I know in the not too distant future I'm going to have, this house is going to be sold. She'll have her cut, I have my cut, and I'm going to buy a small house with hopefully some land, and build a fence around, a secure fence for the dogs. And so I'll be alone. And I know, like, the treasure of my life is my son. At the moment, he likes playing football and on the computers, but I know one day he's going to have, maybe one day soon, he's going to have a girlfriend, and he's going to forget about me. You know, people say, no, he'll never forget about you. I know he won't forget about me, but in the moment, he'll forget about me. You know, some people might say, why is that important? Aren't you a man? Children are supposed to leave the nest. Yeah, they are. Are they? I never left the nest. I never left home. You know, some people say you shouldn't want that for your children. They have to be independent. Look what happened to you. Yeah, but sometimes you're selfish. You don't want to be alone. You don't want to be alone. And I don't want to start another relationship. Because you see, as you get older, your brain deteriorates. It's true. You can't handle certain things. I can't handle certain noises. Like, imagine if I had to start all over again, babies screaming in the middle of the night, you know, sleepless nights, I'll be completely destroyed. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Tantrums, you know, arguments with a girlfriend. Because you have a girlfriend, wife or whatever, and then there's that first argument when you realize that that angelic being is a human being. You know, you realize, oh bloody hell, the dream is over. And this happens. So what I'm trying to say is, why don't you find a woman? After having a few relationships and a marriage, you don't want to have any bloody relationship with a woman. Any, maybe friendship, but even friendship, you like, I want to keep at arm's length of any woman. People don't understand it. They just don't understand. What are you, gay or something? Or what? Even if I was gay, I would have the same way of thinking. I just don't want any, because I know where it's going to lead. It leads to intimacy, and then you're intimate with that person, and you're high. You feel really great. You feel really happy. Oh, I'm in love and all that. But whatever goes up must come down. At some point, you reach a peak, and then it's downhill. And it's not like this. And anyway, I don't want to yo-yo and be in an emotional like roller coaster with a woman. Women are nice, they're lovely, they're beautiful, but people say, well, don't you want a companion? What does it mean to have a companion? If that companion is going to give you stress. And a lot of normal men can take the stress. I can't take any stress. My cup this is the cup, and it's up to here. The water's up to here, almost overflowing. All it takes is just a little bit to make that water spill over. And at the moment. But a person who suffers from anxiety or ADHD, depression or whatever, I can only talk for myself. That glass is almost full all the time. You do some meditation and you get really, really deep. Really, that cup might go down. This is called your cup of frustration tolerance goes down. Let's say goes down to about 3/4, and that's absolutely brilliant. So when you're driving, someone cuts you off, you say, "Oh, it's okay." It's like when you're in love, or you just won £1,000,000 or something. Somebody cuts you off, fine, no problem, or you're in love and you got that stupid face, smiling all the time. Someone even crashes into you. It's okay. It's an accident. It's a mistake. But when you're pissed off, when that thing is overflowing, someone so much as looks at you the wrong way, you think, what the fuck are you looking at? Even the person might be blind and might be not even looking at you. Any little thing will piss you off if your cup is overflowing. So that's what I have to do. People who have a lot of anxiety, who suffer from an anxiety state, or some anxiety, an illness of anxiety, ADHD, depression, whatever it is, or highly sensitive people, whatever. Being with a woman, being in a relationship with a woman, initially helps bring this down. Oh yeah, you feel happy. Oh, it brings it down, but it also brings stress, and then you might have more stress. And once the peak has arrived and it starts going down, arguments, tantrums, and stuff, this goes up, overflows. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. If you are alone, some people say, oh, I'm fine, I'm so happy without a woman. It's fantastic. I just want to be alone. But they're lonely. Some people say they're not lonely. They're the happiest that they've ever been. So I suppose I'll try and see what happens. I might be really happy being alone. And yeah, just being in touch with myself. I think this is the only time in my life that I will be actually alone. Because I've never been alone. I've always been with my family. I've always had a family. Like, even when I lived in China, I always had a home to go back to. My dad. But I think I started to feel lonely when my dad passed away 2 years ago. Because out of our the nuclear family, there was myself, my mum, and my dad. once those two pass away, I'm the only one left on this planet from my family. I'm the only one who has memories of growing up. You know, when my mum and dad were around, we all had these shared memories, and I could relate to someone, you know. I suppose it's the same for everyone, you know. But I feel that as I get older, I'm becoming more alone, more lonely. I know there's a difference between alone and lonely. For me, it's the same thing. But I felt alone even within my family. At least, though, with the family, there's noise in the house, there's something going on. And when you come back home, you know there's no burglar or anyone hiding in the cupboard or anything. You know there are people there. So, what do you do? Some people say, oh, you can go and make friends, go to the church. I want to go to a church. And I don't know. I don't want to make friends with people my age anyway. They're all so. It's like they're almost ready to die. You know? Not in the way they look, but the way they think. Well, in the way they look as well. Younger people, you can't really make friends with them because you can't relate to them in certain areas. Like they go to the pub or they go here, they go there. You know. In China, I had this problem. You know, when I went to China, I was in my late 30s, and I met my wife. No. Sorry, the second since I met my wife, I went back a few times to China. I was in my 40s, and I realized, wow, I'm in my 40s, and I was talking to university students and hanging out with them because you can't hang out with anyone your age. Because in my 40s, I don't know, 45 or whatever, if you wanted to find a woman, for example, you wouldn't. They're all married, they've got kids, or divorced, or you have to find a younger woman, like 25 or 28 before she hits the wall. Because most women in China are married before, or they want to get married before about 28. You know, 25, 28, they get that itch, and they have to find someone quickly to procreate the next generation. Yeah, but mind you, now in China, there's lots of leftover women, left on the shelf women in their 30s and everything. That's because their standard is so high, and you know they can't find a man. And I think there are more women to men. No, more men to women. I think. Yeah, because of the one-child policy. I think there are more. There's more of one sex than the other. I think it's more men to women ratio, and that's not really good. Anyway, yeah. So when I was in China, I was thinking, oh, there's no one my age. I can't relate to anyone. I either make friends with younger people, but even when I met my wife, I was 39 years of age and she was 25 when we were married. So most people my age, even at that time, 39, were married, long married, or divorced, or I had to find a younger woman, and so I found a younger woman. Um, Fat lot of good that did me. No, but I mean, I was happy initially. The first few years, I was happy, kind of happy. I think you just get used to a person, don't you? Even if you're not in love or you're not happy initially, you kind of you you give it a go, don't you? And yeah, I think that's what happened with me. But yeah, I suppose what I'm saying is, as you get older, you become more and more lonelier, and definitely more alone. I'm not sure about lonelier. It depends how people deal with this being alone, this aloneness. Um, so that's what I've been thinking about. I've been thinking, wow, when I get the new house, it'll be all over. Because now I can go back to my house and see my kids, and my wife is there, and they're all living under the same roof. And it reminds me of when my dad was there as well. One day soon this will be over. Once we sell the house, I'll have my own place. They all have their own place, so I won't be able to spend time with them in the house with their mum anymore. I'll have my own place. I'll have to clean my own clothes, wash my own plates, clean my house, all alone. And yeah, and then I don't know, at night time, little things that I probably missed, like he might come to the door and say, "Good night, Daddy," and I say, "I love you, baby. Good night." When he comes home from school, I give him a hug. In the morning, if I'm awake, I say, "Bye bye, baby. Love you. Have a nice day." I won't be able to say that anymore. And now he's getting older. He's growing up. I mean, he's a teenager. He might not want to be with his dad, a boring dad who doesn't do anything. All I do is go to the supermarket. So I've started to go to football with him, but he doesn't want me to go because he feels like under pressure that he has to perform for me. I said, "That's all right, don't worry." Why would he think that? You know. So I think once my son has a girlfriend and everything, he won't want to spend time with me, so I'll be alone, really alone. Yeah, I have my dogs. I've got 6 dogs, but at some point they'll all be gone as well. My Betty, she's quite old now. She's all got white hair. The mum, she's about 4.5 years now, nearly 5 years. And the dogs are 2 years old already. 2.5. Was it 2 or 3 years old? So at most I've got, I don't know, 8 years with them. And then, I was thinking, Timmy hasn't been neutered, so I'll keep him as a male, a stud, with his testosterone, this one here. And just get a female, and then start it all over again. Them having a family again. So that'll keep me busy for another 10 years. The only problem with that is you love these dogs, and they become, especially if you have nobody else around, you don't have family, they become your family. And there are highs. Where there's a high, there'll be a low. The joy of seeing them being born, the joy of playing with them, and then there's the low of seeing them become ill, and then each one of them passing away, and I'm going to have to bury each one of them. I know that's life, but that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm quite a sensitive person. That highly sensitive person thing. I filled one of those questionnaires in. I tick all the boxes. I think there was like 18 questions. I ticked like 16 or 17. So I'm that as well, a highly sensitive person apparently. Yeah, but I wonder what it's going to be like sitting down on a sofa or on a chair, eating food on my own, and just talking to dogs. I won't be talking to anyone, any human being, apart from when I go and see the doctor or dentist. Then I'll have money to have a bloody dentist. Um, yeah, I'm not even frightened. Just don't know what it's going to be like. I feel, if I'm alone or lonely, um, I don't know how I'm going to feel. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a good thing, but it might be. It might be. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been thinking about recently. As we get older, we become more and more alone. Friends leave us. We're not. Our energy wanes. It goes down. Our health goes down hill. Our looks go down. Our finances go down, and people don't want to be around you. If you're a rich old man or rich old woman, at least you'll have people around you. It's like flies to horse dung, flies to poo. It will attract lots of people. I was going to say for the wrong reasons, but why are people with us in the first place? There's always a profit, isn't there? Either you're with a woman because she looks sexy, or there's something about her that you like. Either she has nice knockers or nice ass or a nice face, or she looks nice, or even if it's not physical, yeah, she's my friend, and she makes me feel good. You always have to get some profit, and for women, well, you know what women want. That's the number one thing. But even if I found this out in China, I used to have lots of friends, and then I thought, why do I have lots of friends? Then I realized that you're like a trophy. You know, some you used to have these martial arts masters, okay? And one of these masters I spoke to, and I became friends with him. And he took me to some place, and he was like showing me off to another master, kind of saying, "You see, I've got a foreign student," and they were laughing, stuff like that. Lots of other things that happened in China made me realize that as a white or Western man, you become like a trophy. You know, this is my white friend, this is my Western friend, and it kind of elevates you in society, because it's really important there. Face to not to lose face, and to um, the lighter you are in society, the more beautiful you are. So if you're friends with a person who is pale or light, you're higher up in society. You might get some Chinese person saying this is not true. I'll say to any of you guys, go to China and then find out for yourself. Don't listen to anyone online. Go to China and find out. They still have their traditional way of thinking, not this woke, this modern way of thinking. Ask the Chinese about the saying in China, an ancient saying: every white covers 1,000 defects. So that means even if you're ugly, as long as you're white or pale, that covers 1,000 defects, like bent nose, no teeth, stuff like that. But if you're brown or dark and absolutely beautiful, it doesn't matter, because the vibe that is connected to being brown. Usually people who are brown are people who work in the fields, and people who are poorer. The women who were whiter, or light, should I say, or painted themselves white, were rich people. Well-to-do people who had money, who were healthier, and people gravitate towards those kind of people. Just like in China, I think the caste system, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, India. So those are my thoughts for today. A long-winded video as usual. I suppose what I'm trying to say is I'm scared. I'm scared of being alone. But there's nothing I can do about it, Nobody wants me. I'm not like this handsome fellow who has lots of money. I'm not this person who doesn't have any problems. You know, even if I found a nice lady, I've got loads of bloody problems. And maybe being on my own will help me to deal with these problems, you know, head on. And maybe that's what I need. Maybe there's a time in our life that we have to be alone. For how long? I don't know. But it's true that as you get older, you become more and more. Your brain deteriorates, you know, because of aging, and so you, men and women, we have a lot of luggage, a lot of baggage, emotional baggage. You know, I'm not talking about those skeletons that lady has or that bloke might have. I'm talking about, you know, the fact that you've lived longer on this earth and seen many hardships and many, you know, for example, if I think about myself when I was, let's say, in my 20s, let's say 25, 20, I was so happy. Like, you feel immortal, don't you? But then fast forward 30 years, when you've seen, you know, as a shy boy, as a shy man, a man with mental health problems, when you see your mum pass away, you see your dad pass away, you see your health decline, you lose your family, you lose your house and everything, you just don't have much motivation. You don't, that magic, that spark isn't there anymore. You don't see life as this wonderful thing. No, you see it as a piece of shit. You don't see it as your will to not to live, but your will to be part of this world, this society goes away. You see it for what it is, or for what what you think it is. And so sometimes, you know, I just think, yeah, all right, I'll be a hermit. I'll live alone with the dogs and live that Taoist life that I always talk about. I kind of have two sides to me. One is the poet, the person that wants to live the Taoist life and read the Taoist scriptures and ancient texts. But another part of me wants to be normal. I know that I could never be normal. I don't know what normal is, that's for sure. So anyway, you guys, I don't know, maybe you guys who are older, I was going to say wiser, um, older and have experience in this area. You know, have you lost everything? Lost your parents, your family, your wealth, your health? What have you got left? You just have this thing between your eyes, behind your eyes. That's all you have left. I think it's time for me to get to know that thing behind my eyes and ask, you know, the ancient question: Who am I? What am I? Why am I? I don't know what the answer is to any of those, but I think once I'm quiet, I can ask those questions and be silent enough to hear a response. At the moment, I'm all over the place. You can see in my face, I'm so stressed out. Well, anyway, yeah. So Do any of your guys, any of you guys, any of your guys, do any of you guys fear the future, or kind of are apprehensive about what the future holds for you, or have you passed that stage where you were afraid and then you became alone and you lived somewhere, I don't know, in the countryside somewhere in a hut, and found out that it wasn't so bad, and maybe your health got better? Maybe, yeah, maybe it could be a good thing. Maybe without all these stresses, my health will get better. I hope, mental and physical health, and things will change. I don't know. It's just it's that apprehension, that kind of worry, fear of the unknown. I know it's all me. Someone's gonna say it's all you. Well, the clue is in the name of this channel, Gerald. I'm talking about myself. That's the only thing that I know about. I don't know anything else apart from weird stuff like alchemy and stuff like that people don't want to know about. Every time I try to do a video about these things, people don't want to know. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up a membership area, and talk about the Taoism and stuff like that. Maybe that's a good idea. To help pay for these doggies. Turkey. Look at him. He's snoring away. All right. I'm going to take him back home and feed him. Okay, guys. Sorry for the long video again. I have to try and do short videos. They're too long. Speak to you guys. Spiral upwards. One day I'll explain to you what I mean by spiral upwards, once I've done it successfully myself. Alright. See you in another video. Bye.